KXBS 92.1 coming soon.
This broadcast will start in 60 seconds. This broadcast will start in 45 seconds. This broadcast will start in 30 seconds. This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS The Voice of Stockton or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Good afternoon, Stocktonians, and welcome to a special edition of Tales and Tips. I am so honored to have a repeat guest with me, Ryan Ahern, World Champion Show Pianist.
Thank you very much, Julie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And he's going to be performing live in Stockton tomorrow night. We'll be jumping in to talk about those details shortly. I did want to alert our listeners and viewers today that there is a drive going on for supplies for the fire victims of the Carr fire. And that's through several local Lions clubs in our district, our disaster coordination group, and we are going to be at Walmart Saturday and Sunday, that's this weekend, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We will be collecting items such as gloves, shovels, non-perishable food, pop-up canopies, tarps. Money is also always welcome. Personal hygiene items are really important. Soaps, body wash, shampoo, socks, underwear. So if you're able to donate items, that's once again this Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 6 p.m. in the parking lot of Walmart on Hammer Lane. And that's our local Lions clubs coming together to help the victims of the Carr fire disaster. And so please help if you can. If you're available to volunteer to help man that booth, please contact me through Facebook, and I appreciate anyone who's willing to help, and together we can make a huge difference. All right, let's come back to Ryan. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back in the studio. It's always great.
It's great to have you here, and especially with the fact that you're performing in Stockton tomorrow night.
I know. We are very excited.
Tell us about that.
Well, we're with the Stockton Civic Theater, and it's been probably 6 months since we booked that theater, and we're just excited to bring this show to Stockton finally.
First time performing here. You've performed in Lodi at Hutchins Street Square before.
That's right, yes. So that's as close as we've gotten to the heart of Stockton, but now we're just going to be down the street from the studio here.
Yay!
It's great. Yeah,
and it's almost
excited.
sold out. There's a couple remaining tickets.
Yeah, the last count was, I think there was 25 seats left in the whole
Not very
theater.
many.
Yeah, so, sometimes some of the groups who bought a large package of tickets might return some of the unused. So there should be plenty of tickets for anybody who wants to show up.
Awesome. And the event address is 2312 Rosemary Lane, and it starts at 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
Yes. We're going to start at 7. I think the doors will probably open at 6, and welcome to get there anytime.
All right.
And, we're going to start the show at 7.
All right. Yeah. And you will be by yourself, no orchestra this time?
Right. So this is a very
special.
new experience. 10 years ago, I would do only solo piano shows, and I wouldn't play with any background tracks or drum machine or anything like that. And for the last 10 years, I've only done concerts with my orchestra. So to play a show now without all these musicians on stage is a little different. So what we've done is taken the whole orchestra into the studio and recorded all of the actual arrangements that I've written, for my orchestra. And so you're actually hearing my first call Las Vegas orchestra. A few of them are from LA, but so the sound is original. You know, it's not some cheap MIDI keyboard sound. I mean, these are real live musicians. It costs a fortune to get recorded. So,
but they're worth it.
Worth every penny, of course. Yeah. So there's going to be it's a little more intimate, you know, because all of the attention is just on me, and a lot of times the audience members are looking at the different band members and at the soloists and stuff, you know. So it really gives me an opportunity to connect with the audience in a way that sometimes their attention gets dissipated throughout the stage. So,
And how many orchestra members do you normally perform with?
it's usually 8.
8.
Yeah, yeah. It's never less than 6, but it's as many as 9. So usually 8 is the right number. We have 4 horns, you know, alto, tenor, trumpet, and trombone, and then a full rhythm section, keyboard, drums, bass, and lead guitar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll play harmonica.
Oh yeah, so I play different instruments, of course. So
Yes.
I've been known to grab a harmonica or two and play some solos, and then I also do a big drum solo in the show. You know, drums being my primary instrument since I was 7 years old. So
Which I find
I like-
fascinating since you're known for playing the piano.
you know, it's true. It's true. But you can't really have a drum show, come to find out. I've tried. And there's only so much drums you can hear before you're ready for some tones, you know.
And that was one of my questions. Why the piano? Because I know that you do play several instruments. How did you decide to start performing professionally with the piano, and when did you start doing that?
So I started piano lessons at 12 years old, and it became very clear that the piano was one of the only instruments that you could actually listen to on its own and enjoy a song in all of its greatness, you know. Like the other instruments that I play, drums, and I play all the saxophones, you know, that all required other instruments in order to make a song and certainly to make a show. So it was always so satisfying to be able to play a song on the piano because you have all the notes, you know, you got all the rhythm, the bass and the treble, and it's all there, you know. And if I were to play like the soprano saxophone is one of my favorite instruments, you know, even Kenny G gets a little tiring. You know, I've been to his concert, and it's amazing for the first hour and a half, and then it's just more of the same, you know. So especially as a solo instrument, it's almost impossible. So the piano is really one of the few instruments that, for me anyway, personally, that I can sit there and listen to for hours on end and still enjoy all the music.
Well, and it's so versatile, like the human voice, that you can play so many different ranges and genres and beats and melodies.
Exactly, and that's the thing too, and that's the thing in my show is that there's all the different styles, you know, everything from Broadway to boogie woogie and rock and roll and the classical stuff, and
Something for
you know,
everyone.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
And it's good for families too. I know when I went to your performance in Lodi, it was great to see lots of families there enjoying
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, and I'm used to playing for, you know, a very diverse audience. So I've noticed in some of my shows, if I put in a lot of music of a certain genre, you know, that sliver of the audience loves that. Like if you have a lot of jazz enthusiasts, you know, who only love jazz music, and I know that they're going to be there, then I'll put a bunch of jazz music in. But then if you don't like jazz, then what are you going to do? You're going to sit there for those 30 minutes of jazz and not exactly appreciate it the way you would if it just kept more variety. Plus for the children, you know, we have a lot of Disney music in the show now, and some more contemporary stuff from like Maroon 5 and Queen and all
Awesome.
kinds of fun things.
Awesome. In
Yeah.
fact, I remember in Lodi you played a song from Queen. I was impressed.
yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I do like all their music. It's so great. And there's a new movie coming out. I'm excited to see
Yes.
the movie coming out pretty soon.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think I was 14 when I got my first gig, you know, so I was a couple years into piano lessons, and I learned pretty quick, you know, for some reason. So I had a lot of teachers. I had 3 or 4 teachers at one time sometimes.
Wow.
In fact, my dad loves telling that story where he would take me to one lesson and wait in the car and just kind of try to do some business and then pick me up and take me to another one, you know. And I never let the teachers know that I had other teachers because all they would say is, well, what are they teaching you? You know, they would try to build off of the other teachers. So I had a jazz teacher. I had just a regular like music theory kind of a neighborhood, everyday kind of teacher. And then I had some specific teachers, guys who were doing competitions and things that would kind of teach me like a bigger Liberace style, a lot of interpretation and creativity. So it all kind of worked together.
And do you consider yourself a modern day Liberace?
Well,
You've been called that before.
I have been called that, you know, and I do a big tribute to Liberace, and I've won the Liberace International piano competition
Awesome.
twice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, back in my earlier days, I did a lot of competitions, and I've done a lot with the Liberace Foundation and Museum.
Awesome.
And, you know, because I really like that big, full style, you know. So
Very rich.
Not only to enjoy the show musically, but also give you something to look at, you know. A lot of times you see piano players, and they're just using the middle 3 octaves of the piano. And it's like, well, what about those other 40 keys that are on that piano? You know, let's play those sometimes, you know, with the big arpeggios and all the, you know, playing the big heavy tenths on the left hand and all that.
Awesome.
You know, there's a lot of great qualities in there.
Will we see some of that on Saturday?
You're going to see it all.
All right.
Oh, there's pulling out all the stops for tomorrow night. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And when did you start incorporating voice?
You know, I've always, even since I was a kid, I wanted to sing, you know, and I've taken a lot of voice lessons over the years, but because my piano arrangements would kind of take the center stage and be the reason for the show, I never wanted to sit there and just sing, because then all I'm playing on the piano are chords. I'm just accompanying myself. So, and any pianist can sit there and punch out some chords for a singer, you know. So I didn't want to take the focus off of all these great arrangements that I've written. So I never put vocals in the show until I had to build a real big headliner show. And then I realized, well, this is a lot of music that really needs to be broken up a little bit, especially with some of the rock and roll music. You know, people can hear instrumental versions of songs and enjoy that, but it's really great to hear the lyrics of a song. You know, you miss a lot of the emotion by not having the lyrics in there. Like when I do some Ray Charles ballads and things, you know, it's they kind of all sound the same as far as, you know, the 12-bar blues and a lot of the slow swing style. So it was probably about 10 years ago that I said, okay, well, let me add some vocals to the show, and we'll see if it's good enough for the audience to enjoy. And it's something I've been really focused on over the past 10 years. And, you know, I get a lot of compliments on my singing.
Awesome.
So
You're an excellent singer, and I'm sure
thank you.
people that haven't heard you before tomorrow night, they're in for such a treat. It will be amazing. Do you perform songs in other languages as you travel all over the world?
I play a lot of instrumental songs in other languages, but I don't sing in other languages. That's something I haven't taken on yet.
Maybe in the
you know?
future.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to do that.
Well, and you told us last time that you're fluent in so many different languages, which I think is amazing, and you travel all over. Are there places that you haven't been to perform that you'd like to?
Well, let's see. I've been to so many places, you're right. It's
easier to list the ones you haven't.
It seems so, yeah. You know, I've been to over 100 countries, you know, probably 110 or so by now. And I do love languages. You know, it's one of my passions. And traveling like I do, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of time on airplanes. So to fill that time, I spend that learning languages and different things. So I feel like I probably could sing in other languages pretty effortlessly, you know. Like a lot of people who sing in college, like an aria that's in Italian or something. I mean, they have to go through every line and phonetically make sure that is correct. And if they're singing it incorrect, they don't even know sometimes because they're not familiar with that language. So I think if I were to put a song in Spanish or Mandarin or something, I think I would have a pretty good grip of the lyrics.
I think you should try it.
So yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll see. But as far as countries I haven't been to, you know, I haven't been anywhere in like South Africa You know, I haven't been down in the continent of Africa much at all, except I've been to Egypt. So there's probably some exotic places there that might be fun. I don't know what the market is for instrumental shows and things, but we'll get there eventually.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. And how do you decide what song would be a good song for a performance?
So this is one of the biggest things that I spend most of my time. You know, what I'll do is I'll have an idea of something that's maybe missing from the show, like you and I talked about some Beatles music. So I don't have any Beatles songs right now that are in my show. I mean, I've played a few Beatles songs in the past, but to add a set of Beatles songs or even a medley of 2 or 3 songs together would be wonderful. So what I'll do is buy a sheet music book of the Beatles collection, you know, 200 or 300 pages, and I'll just play it from cover to cover. I'll just flip it, and you know, I'm familiar with most of those songs, as most people are. So it gets down to deciding, do I want to play something that's really popular, you know, Yellow Submarine, or something like
Here Comes the Sun.
yeah, or Hey Jude, or something really famous, or do I take some of the B-side songs, you know, some of the songs that are just beautiful that maybe not so many people know. And, you know, because you don't always want to, not sell out, but you don't want to take the easy route and just play all those famous songs.
Or
Plus,
a combination. Maybe pick 2 that are really popular and one that's not so well known.
so that's usually what I end up doing. So a lot of songs that are great to listen to on the radio don't always translate to the piano. And I've had that happen many times where I said, oh, I love this song. I'm going to learn that song. I'm going to arrange it. I'm going to put it in the show. And as I'm playing it, it's just so flat. You know, it's just so thin. The chord progression's really boring and simple. It doesn't go anywhere. There's no emotion involved. And it was probably because the lyrics were so great that I loved that song for that reason. You know, or it was catchy, but to translate it onto a solo piano thing doesn't really fit, you know. So not only do I need to have it as a solo version, but then I need to think about the orchestration for it, you know, and do I want to keep it in the original style, or maybe do I want to change it up? Like I play a song in the show, Chariots of Fire, which is, you know, very slow and dramatic, and then da-da-da-da-da-da. So again, that's great when you have that underlying low string line, you know, with the hum, the bum, and then here's this da 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 part. So I've changed the style of that and made it a little more rock and roll. You know, so we got some 8th notes on the on the bass line, and it changes it enough where you can still enjoy it and recognize it, but not really understand why you liked it so much this time. It
livens it up.
Yeah. and in fact, I had to take a song out of the show once. I did an arrangement of Eva Cassidy's version of Over the Rainbow, which a lot of people know. Very famous, very similar to Brother Is. You know, he did a version of it. So when you change a song that much, the only thing you can really hold on to are the lyrics. So if it was sung by Eva Cassidy or whoever, you say, oh, that's Over the Rainbow, what a nice version. You know, but if I played that version on the piano instrumentally, it sounds like a completely different song. And I've had people come in after the show and say, why would you play a song I can't even recognize? Because I said, oh, I'm going to play Eva Cassidy version of Over the Rainbow. And, oh, Over the Rainbow, love it. Oh, can't wait to hear it. And then I don't deliver what they know of that song because they don't know the Eva Cassidy version. So I learned some hard lessons by taking songs out of the original style too much.
You take a risk.
Yeah. So I'll save that for my own fun.
And what about, I was going to ask you, what about that same risk with incorporating something that you've written that's something that people don't know, but they may love?
That's the other thing, too, is, you know, when I put an original song in the show, I have to, you know, maybe tell us a little story about it so they can have a bit of an emotional attachment to it before they hear it. If I just say, hey, listen to this, they'll just, oh, very nice. What was that? You know? So until
it's
those songs...
It's all about emotion.
Exactly.
It's all about connecting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all going to sound great because there's world-class musicians on stage. You know, how could it not sound great? But we need to take it another level. You know, we need to get that emotion and really get people on the edge of their seats, get them tingling, the way I feel when I'm playing sometimes. So to put a lot of original music in, you got to kind of already be an established fan to really enjoy that side of things. But I'll put a couple in once in a while. If I'm scoring a movie or something and there's a new theme that's really nice, I'll play it for the audience, and hopefully they enjoy it for what it is without any preconceived attachment to it. But it's a risk.
And on your CDs, and you have some DVDs that are coming out that we'll talk about. Do you have original songs, original material on those?
Yeah, so I have 6 albums out now, and
all right, that's amazing.
Thanks. And on 4 of those albums, there's original songs throughout. Sometimes 5 or 6 songs are original, and as I do these shows and we do the merchandising, people only want to, not only want, but the majority of people only want to buy songs that they know. They'll pick up my movie themes album and say, oh, I love Somewhere in Time, and I love the theme from Love Story and Titanic, and if I said, oh, well, I got 3 other songs on there that I wrote, they'll say, well, good for you. So there's going to be a time when I can put out an album of just original music. But
that'll be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Future goal.
It is, yeah. So I have, all the songs ready for that. But
awesome.
Until they're already an established fan of my music, I don't think it'd be appreciated the way that I'd need it to be. Okay. And it's a different path. It's like a band that starts, and they want to write all original music. It just takes a decade for anybody to get traction on that, because you have to hit people with your music over and over and over, and then by the 4th or 5th time, they're like, oh, that's that song that they do. I really like it. It's catchy. And then finally it's going to be, oh, I want that song, And
either that or you have a one-hit wonder, and then you never hear of them again.
Right. Yeah, they weren't able to write another song that captures the audience like that. And that's one thing that kind of separates original music artists from cover tunes artists, which majority of what I do is cover tunes. It's taking famous songs and arranging them in my style, and that's what people are there to see, is what can you do with the song that I already know, and how can you change it in a way where I feel like it's brand new, but still keeping the integrity of that song. Some of the modern jazz stuff, it starts off and you can hear the melody of the song, but then for 3.5 minutes, you couldn't recognize that song if your life depended on it until it comes back to the original bridge or something. So I never want to do that to an audience, because I don't enjoy that when that happens to me. I mean, I like jazz in its own form, but for what I do to the masses, you have to keep it a little more true to the original. So what happens when you write original music is that once it finally takes on, a grip of the audience, like Jim Brickman music, take it for example. He's got a lot of instrumental solo piano stuff that's very recognizable, and it's because it's been on the radio so much. People know it, and they're like, oh, that's that nice piano song I know. So now most of the time they're coming out to the shows to hear that song. And if I were to play that song, it wouldn't have the same meaning, because it's not, it's very specific to him. And I'm not going to rearrange an already arranged instrumental piano song with much success. Plus, I can write better stuff anyway.
We won't tell him that.
No, we'll let him know.
So how do people get your 6 albums if they want your 6 albums? Your website, Facebook?
Yeah. If you don't get them at the live concerts, then you have to go through the distributor online. And certainly at my website, there's a store there.
What's
That'd be
your
the
website?
fastest way. So it's my name. It's RyanAhern.com.
Do you want to spell that for people?
So it's RyanAhern.com. Yeah, so there's a calendar, and you can buy concert tickets there. And
so they can get tickets for tomorrow night there?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Awesome.
You have to link, right on the homepage it says See Ryan Live, and then click on that. It'll take you to the tour calendar.
Okay,
And
and
you find August 4th, and then there'll be a link to the ticketing system.
the Stockton Civic Theater also has their website where people can buy tickets.
Yeah, so it links to their site from mine.
Okay.
But you can go there directly. It's sctlivetheater.com, and that's with an R-E at the end.
And
Theater.
Very
Old-
classic,
old
very formal.
Classic style, yeah.
And tickets are $29.
That's right, $29 for general admission. Students and seniors, we have a $24 ticket point for them. So,
All right. And let's go back to, you mentioned composing and you also mentioned setting a score for movies. How
Yeah.
often do you get to do that, and what movies have you done that for?
so the thing with scoring movies is that it takes so long. I've done a lot of, nothing major by any means, nothing that you would see in a movie theater. But for every movie that you see in a theater, there's probably 100 that are made that you don't see. Half of those get on DVD and maybe have some distribution. The rest are so independent that they rarely go anywhere except the director's family and some independent film festivals and things. So I've scored a couple of independent films, and I've done a lot of stage, dance, dramas, like scores for stage, and a couple of commercials. So it's something I really enjoy, because movie music is one of my favorite things, and it's an incredible process when you have the video, the movie that's usually been completed already, and there's no score underneath. I mean, I don't think people realize that if you're watching a movie and you hit mute and maybe put on the subtitles, it's a completely different movie. The music is so important. It really leads you down the path of what the storyline is about, what the director's trying to tell.
Again.
Yeah, what's the intent of that movie? People, it's so funny how a minor chord sounds sad. How does that hit us as a human being? Why does 3 notes sound happy, or you move one note down a half step and now it's sad? It's amazing in its own right. So to translate that into a big orchestration and score a movie, sometimes you just have the director, the writer, the art director sitting there saying, well, we need something very ominous and dark here, something to build suspension, or they need something happy and whatever. I mean, usually it's pretty obvious with what's going on, but you take that and you have to create that. You have to make that fit, and respect the creator of this movie and help them relay that information to the viewer. You can't have a very sad scene where people are crying and then have this polka music going on in the background. It's confusing to your mind. So I really enjoy the process. But the thing is, it takes a very long time. Even a small project is 2 or 3 months. And if you had any kind of major project, 5, 6, 7 months isn't unrealistic to score a movie like that, especially with all of the additional things and trailers. Plus, they're always re-editing movies. Like I'll get a final pass of the film, and by the time I'm done with the score, they say, oh, here's the new version, and we've cut 8 minutes out of that and 16 seconds out of this, and now my score doesn't fit. So
yeah.
I'm going back to the drawing board, and I'm not just shrinking it. I got to rewrite stuff, because I still have to get all of the musical message onto the video that now is shorter. So
very complicated.
It just takes, this is a process, but I love it. I have a studio in Vegas that is dedicated to that kind of a thing. So
Awesome.
But I'm traveling so much that I can't take on these projects, so it'd have to be a pretty major project now for me to take time off of the touring.
Yeah.
To sit in a studio and write, essentially sitting behind a computer for 6 months.
And you're
and a
performing
keyboard.
so many days of the year. You're gone so much of the time.
I have big shows that I have to prepare for and do. So I would like to keep it balanced as much as possible, but it's one of my favorite things to do. So maybe in the future we'll schedule part of the year that I can do that kind of thing.
And talk about the PBS show. I know it hasn't aired yet, and you just told me that they loved it so much that they're going to do another one.
That's right.
Which is a huge honor and recognition.
It is. We're very
And
happy.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So the first PBS special was filmed this year, and it's going to be airing in this market on KVIE, which is Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto area, and it's going to be live on. I'm going to be live on the air on November 28th, and then that will be an hour and a half show. So we have an hour of concert footage, and then in between that we take breaks and do an interview, and it's for the pledge drive, So they're going to be talking and asking me questions, and then throwing back to the footage. So, and then it'll repeat over the following couple of weeks, and then it'll replay again in March, and then it's going to play in Las Vegas also in December for their pledge drive. So
Great. So Christmas time.
yeah, so that'll be on
Perfect.
For Christmas time, and when you do the PBS specials, people call in to pledge, and they get free tickets and CDs and DVDs. So we have a concert scheduled following each of these PBS specials. So in January, there's going to be a big concert in Las Vegas that people can get tickets to in December.
Awesome.
For that, and that show in itself is going to be filmed with 8 or 9 cameras in a big production, and that will become a new PBS special that KLVX Channel 10 in Las Vegas wants, and they're going to put that on the air for next year. So there'll be 2 specials that are both going to be playing throughout the country somewhere.
Awesome.
So we're just gaining traction on all of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there'll be a concert in Sacramento also that people can go see.
And
who
that's
watch the
in
special.
May.
Yeah, we're going to put that in May because we want to have the drive in November, and then also we're one of the featured specials for the March drive. So there'll be tickets at both of those events, and then the concerts in May.
Awesome. And then prior to that, you're going to have in September San Jose, September 22nd, and then San Francisco, October 12th.
Yeah, so big shows over there in the Bay Area. And that's full orchestra. Those are big theaters.
Awesome.
800-900 seat theaters.
Have you performed in either of those places before?
I haven't. This will be the first time. So
Wonderful.
So we're going to be at the Hammer Theater in San Jose in September, and then at the Herbst Theater in downtown San Francisco, which is also known as the War Memorial Theater, if you're familiar with that over there. So those are going to be exciting. That's in October.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Should we play some music?
I think we should. Yeah, we got some great songs
All right.
queued up here.
What do you want to play?
Well, let's see. Why don't we start, since we were talking about singing so much, I have a medley in my show of 50s and 60s songs. This is 4 different songs that I've arranged and just put together. Not for any reason, it's just 4 of my favorite songs. And I think I even play the harmonica in this set also. So... You shake my nerves and you ride on my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will, all would a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I had to love cause I thought I was funny. You came along and moved me, honey. I changed my mind, this love is fine. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Kiss me, baby. Ooh, feels good. Hold me, baby. I wanna love you like a lover should. You're fine, so kind. I'ma tell this world that you're mine, 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 mine. I click my nails, I put on the thumb. I'm nervous about it, show is fun. Come on, baby, you drive me crazy. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Good God, I miss Molly. Joe had a ball. Good God, I miss Molly. Joe had a ball. When you're rocking and a rolling, I don't hear your mama call. From the early, early morning to the early, early night, Summer Smalley rocking at the House of Blue Lights. Oh, good God, I miss Molly. Show how to ball. When you're rocking and a rolling, I don't hear your mama call. One more time, boy. baby, whole lot of shaking going on. I ain't faking, whole lot of shaking going on. I said, come on over, baby, we got chicken in the barn, who's born was born my lawn. Come on over, baby, we got the boat by the horn. I ain't faking, whole lot of shaking going on. I said, shake it, baby, shake it. 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 Come on over, whole lot of shaking going on. One more time. I was taking a bath, long about a Saturday night. A rubber dub, just relaxing in the tub, I thinking everything was alright. Well, I jumped out the tub, put my feet on the floor, wrapped the towel around me and I opened the door, and then a split splash, come back in the bath. I was out, I know there was a party going on, and then a splashing, moving and a grooving. I was really with the feeling. Bing bang, I saw the whole gang dancing on my living room rug. A flip-flop, they was doing the bop. All the teens had the dancing bug. It was a lollipop with a Peggy Sue. We thought that Miss Molly was even there too. And then a split splash, forgot about the bath. When I put my dancing shoes on, splishing and a splashing. I saw the whole gang dancing on my living room rug. A flip-flop, they was doing the bop. All the teens had the dancing bug. It was a lollipop with a Peggy Sue. They thought that Miss Molly was even there too. And then a split splash, forgot about the bath. When I put my dancing shoes on, dancing and a splashing, moving and a grooving. I wasn't reeling with the feeling.
So that was amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
So lively.
Energy.
High energy.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's fun stuff.
So let's talk about your future plans. What would you, where do you see yourself 5 years from now and 10 years from now? Where would you like to be?
You know, more of the same, really. You know, I often think about that, and I think to have a too specific of goal 5 years from now might set myself up for either I might overshoot it or I might be just below it. So I always kind of live in the moment more than most people do, I think.
Well, your moment is pretty awesome right now, so that's okay.
As long as you keep working as hard as you possibly can, you really can't go wrong, I guess. But I would like to have a lot of, in 5 years, I want to have some pretty substantial tours under my belt. You know, not just traveling around and doing a few shows here and a few shows there, but really lock into like a 40-show tour, you know, and really just across different countries and all over the world.
Awesome.
So, you know, I really want to bring all this music to the masses, you know, and it's so it crosses a lot of language boundaries too. So I have a lot of fans in Asia and in Europe and stuff. So I want to bring it over there. I get calls a lot.
Fans on the cruise ships too. You said that follow you too.
Well, that's true. Yeah, out on the cruise ships, you get the most diverse audiences in the world. You know, sometimes I'm playing for 50 different nationalities.
Wow.
I mean, it's always at least 20.
Wow.
You know, and so you don't really need to have a big grasp of the English language to appreciate my show the way it is. You know, just like other entertainers, comedians and things, you know, you really, if you don't know that language really well and are familiar with the culture, then it's not going to have the impact. But music kind of transcends a lot of that, especially music that doesn't have a lot of lyrics.
And on the cruise ships, because it's such a different setting, do you interact with the people that are taking the cruise? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's the difference with the cruising, because in shows on land, I do the show, people leave, and I'll never see them again.
Unless they go to another show.
Well, until next time,
yes.
Right? But on the cruise ships, I'll do the show, and then an hour later, I'm having dinner, and I'm surrounded by everybody that just saw my show. You know, so they have
that can be good
constant
and not good.
Feedback. Well, if the show goes well, it's great. But no, so you know, there's always people who know who you are. So I call it going from zero to hero, because before the show, I'm just another guy in the buffet line. And after the show, I can't have 5 minutes without someone stopping to talk or want a photo or something. So, but it's great. I mean, that's what I live for.
Awesome.
So I'm not complaining by any means. But that's a different dynamic out there on the ships, because you're surrounded by all the people that you just work so hard for delivering the show. And boy, they'll give you all the feedback in the world too.
Awesome.
Good or bad, you know.
And on the cruise ships, are you performing multiple nights in a row?
So usually I'll go out on a ship. A normal contract is 1 week, and depending on the cruise line, I'll usually just do one night. You know, so it's an early seating and a late seating, like a 7 and a 9 o'clock show, because the showrooms aren't big enough to hold everybody at once, so they got to do 2 shows. And then that's usually it for the week. If I'm on Princess, they're known to have a repeat night where I'll present a different show, a totally brand new show, on another night. So it's 2 nights. It's never more than 2 nights in a whole week. Sometimes I'm on a ship for 2 or 3 weeks. You know, I recently did a contract on Celebrity. I got on the ship in Vancouver, and I was around there a little bit, over to Hawaii, and hit all the islands. I was there for 13 nights.
Wow.
And when I got on board, they said, I asked the entertainment director, I said, when's my show? And they said, oh, you're doing farewell night. Farewell night, which is 13 days from now, he says. And so I sit around for 2 weeks. You know, I'm just a passenger, so I just do what everybody else does. You know, I'm not stuck in the crew cabin or anything. So the day of the show, he says, okay, here's your show finally. 2 weeks waiting. It's one show, not even 2 shows that night.
Wow.
It was one farewell show. And you know what he said? He said, keep it short. Keep it short. I said, okay. So instead of doing an hour show, you know, I did like 40 minutes. So I was there for 2 weeks, and I played for 40 minutes.
Wow.
And they really paid for that one. I'll tell you
Wow.
that.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
It can really run the gamut, you know. And for a while, Princess was doing a 3-show policy. They had this anytime entertainment set up where people were having trouble getting to the show and going to dinner and maybe seeing a second show. So they said, well, if you had more show opportunities, it would be better. So they did 3 shows. And they weren't 50-minute shows like they usually are, you know, 45, 50 minutes. They were 30 minutes, but there's 3 of them. And, you know, I put all the big stuff in the show. So for me, for it to be 45 or 50 didn't really matter, because I still had to play all that heavy stuff and all that rock and roll and boogie woogie 3 times. But so you work a little harder sometimes on that kind of a thing. But
you obviously enjoy it.
Of course.
So
I'd rather
that's
play,
awesome.
you know. I mean, I'd do a show every night if they let me.
That's awesome.
But,
that's cool. We shouldn't let them hear that, though. they might try to book you on that.
They might call me on that one.
And are there any singers or musicians that you would really love to perform with?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. I think if I had a dream collaboration, it would be with some real powerhouse vocalists, someone like Michael Bolton or Celine Dion, even Michael Bublé, you know. Somebody.
Doesn't Celine have a show in Vegas? You haven't bumped into her?
Maybe I should just crash the show one day. Just run up and tip the piano player $100 and say, "Take a break, Jack."
Hit the road, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. And just slide on in for Celine. But yeah, it's not easy to get those collaborations done, and it's usually the record companies that are putting those things together anyway. You know, I mean, I've sat at a dinner at David Foster's house where there was a table full of people from Warner Brothers, and you wouldn't believe the conversation if I told you, because it was like they were trading stocks or automobiles in a used car lot or something.
Oh, how crazy.
It's like, oh, why don't you put so-and-so on tour with so-and-so? And I hate to mention names, but and it's like, oh, no, I don't think that'll fit. How about this guy with have him open for the next tour? Okay, fine, we'll do it. Okay. And it was that easy.
Wow.
And that made these people millionaires. I mean, they just say it like it's nothing.
Wow.
And you just got to be in the mix. And then one day your name can be mentioned. Hey, why don't you throw that piano guy on with Celine Dion? Okay, we'll do it. Fine. And then they're back to their conversation about the latest, Deadwood episode or something.
All right. Well, I know you brought some other music for us to hear. What would you like to play next?
Why don't we change the style up a little bit? This is one of the favorites from the show. This is the theme from Love Story, and it's called "Where Do I Begin?" And I get a lot of response from the audience who love this movie and love this song. You know, it's a real standard.
Awesome. All right, and that was excellent. Any final things that you'd like to add?
Well, I just hope I see as many people as possible out at the Stockton show tomorrow night. You know, we have been in preparation of this for a very long time, and it's going to be a very special evening.
It's going to be magnificent.
Yeah.
And once again, how can people get tickets? There's just a few tickets left. We actually sold some while we're on air.
We did. We sold some recently. Yeah. So if it's easier for them to link off of my website, that's one way. Go to ryanahern.com and click on tours, and there'll be a link under the August 4th concert date. Or you can go directly to the Stockton Civic Theater website, which is SCT Live Theater with an RE at the end .com, and I'm right there on the home page. You can click tickets and buy those, and then I'm sure if you showed up at the event tomorrow night without pre-purchasing tickets, there probably is a way. I'll set
find
up
a couple.
folding chair for you.
We'll find a couple spots.
Yeah, you can sit on the piano with me. I don't care.
We
Just
won't let
be
the
there.
firefighters know.
No, we'll keep it under code.
They're
that's
busy
for
in
sure.
car.
That's right. Yeah, they got more
Important things to
handle.
worry about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's end the show with another magnificent tune. Well, what are we going to hear?
You know, I think we'll play something a little more contemporary. This is a song from Maroon 5. You know, several years ago they had a very big hit, everyone knows, with a song called This Love.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, and it's a song that you don't hear on the piano very often. But we just finished this arrangement, so all you Maroon 5 fans out there, this one's for you.
All right. Make it a great day.
Maroon 5. All right. Now I got that out of my system. Now let's do some carpentry.